Good morning, children. Welcome to our video lecture. Today we are going to continue with the third lesson of geography, that is tides. Now already in your previous video you all have studied about tides, what are the causes of tides, and even you have studied about the types of tides. Can you all remember them? Yes, they are neap tide and spring tide. So today we are going to continue with the same lesson, in which we are going to study about effects of tides. Now, what are the different effects of tides? When the tides are occurring, what happens? So let's start. With the high tides, fish move into the creeks and this helps fishing activity. So when there is a high tide, the fish is moving outside, or it is coming near the seashore or in the creeks, and because of which it becomes easy for the fishermen to carry out the fishing activity. Okay. The next point we are going to study is the tides clear the waste and hence the coast becomes clean. So the tides are bringing the waste material in the sea, and because of which the coastal area becomes clean. Port do not get filled with sediments. The ports where the boat has to be anchored, the ships has to be anchored, so they are not getting deposited with the sediments, and thus they are clear and the ships or the boats can be anchored easily. Ships can move up to the port during the high tide. So whenever there is a high tide, the water level increases and thus the ship can come up to the port easily. During high tide, seawater can be stored in salt pans from which salt can be obtained. So when there is a high tide near the coastal region or near the sea, the salt pans are been formed. So the water which is at the high time, the water from the sea can be collected in the salt pan, and thus later on the salt can be obtained from that water. The tidal force can be used for generate electricity. Yes, this is very important. The tidal force, you all know the tides, when they are moving forward and backward, they have lots of energy. So these tidal force can be used for the generation of the electricity. A lack of an understanding of the timing of high and low tide may cause accidents to swimmers entering the sea. Yes, this is one of the very important point. Children, you all need to remember this very carefully. Sometimes we hear that the people go in the sea and while swimming they don't know the timing of the high tide and the low tide, and because of which what happen, when the water level increases, and that time the swimmers they enter into the sea and they don't understand the level of the water, and because of which they get stuck into the water, and thus it causes danger to their life. And the last point we are going to study, the tides helps in maintaining the mangroves and the coastal biodiversity. So mangrove is the plant the trees which are found near the coastal area. So the tides are helping to maintain these mangroves and the coastal biodiversity. Now the next one we are going to study, that is the timing of the tides change daily. Now already when I had explained you all in the previous video, I had told you all that the time of the tide keeps on changing. Okay, so after next day every 25 minutes it goes on extending. So how it becomes, we are going to study in this paragraph. So let's see. The tides are continuously occurring phenomena After reaching the maximum water level during high tide, the low tide sets in. Similarly, after reaching the lowest water level during low tide, the high tide sets in. Remember that in the following discussion, the highest limit of the high tide is mentioned. See figure 3.9. You will understand why the timing of the high and the low tide changes daily. So here we are going to study about the figure 3.9 is given here, and in this we are going to study how the time of the high tide and the low tide changes. So what they had given here, that the tide is a continuous occurring phenomena. It is continuously going on, as already in the previous video also I had explained you all, whether it is day or night, whether it is whatsoever it is, whether the people are there around or no, the tide keeps on occurring all the time. Okay, so it is a continuous occurring phenomena. After reaching the maximum water level during high tide, the low tide sets in. So after there is a time or the maximum level of the water it reaches, after sometimes there starts a low tide, and in similar manner after sometimes after 12 hours of low tide, then there is again a high tide. So here they had given a figure which is explaining us how the high tide occurs and what is the phenomena or what is the cause of occurring the high tide and the low tide. So let's see here. See the picture they had given here. This is earth. You can see they had shown north pole. This is the northern part, this is the southern part. So this is the earth, and you can see they have pointed some points here. This is P1, this is P, and this is F, and this is F1. So they are the points which are plotted on this earth. They are not actually, the points are not there, they are an imaginary points. In order that we should understand, these imaginary points are put over here. Okay, and then you can see here there is a moon. Now you will say why 3 moons are shown. These 3 moons are shown here because as the moon changes their position or they moves further, accordingly they had shown this is M1, M2 and M3. So it is moon position 1, position 2 and position 3. So now with the explanation we will understand about this diagram. So let's see. I am just reading the points and I am explaining you all the diagram. Okay, so that the diagram will be much more clear to you all what is the things given in this explanation. There will be high tide at point P as it is opposite to the moon. So this is point P, and as this point P is opposite to the moon, here there will be a high tide. Okay. Then as point F is opposite at an antipodal location, so here you can see opposite to this point P is point F. So now if here is high tide, opposite of that is also going to be high tide. Already this I had explained you all in the previous video, right? Opposite of 0 is 180 and opposite of 90 is 360. So here if it is high tide, here will be also high tide, and if here it is low tide, here also it will be low tide. Okay, so same thing they had given here. As point F is opposite at an antipodal location. Antipodal location is imaginary dots which are drawn on the earth in order to understand the location. Okay, to the point P, it will also experience the high tide at the same time. It will take 24 hours for point P to come back to its original position. Yes, now from earth, now if suppose the point P had started from here, now when it will go from here and take a round and again come back to its position here, it will take 24 hours to come back to its own position, and that will be 360 degree. Point P will be at point F after 12 hours, that is 180 degrees. So from here to here, this is half circle, and to complete this half circle it will take 12 hours. Okay, half of 24 is 12, so it will take 12 hours to come at point F. Then by the time this point F will come here, okay, so that is 180 degree. The position of the F and P will change. The same changes will also occur with reference to the point F. Yes, so as I said, when point P will move here, point F will come here, so same changes will occur. Point F will experience the same high tide because in the meanwhile the moon also would have moved a little ahead, approximately 6 degree 15 minutes. So now see here, they had given rotation speed of the earth is 1 degree is equal to 4 minutes, and time taken for 12 degree 30 minutes is equal to 50 minutes. So now for 1 degree from one place to another place, when the earth is moving, for 1 degree it takes 4 minutes. So by the time the earth will complete its full half rotation till 180 degree, the moon will also move little bit further, and that is why what will happen, it will move at least 6 degree 15 minutes ahead. Okay, so 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 degrees ahead the moon will move, and thus the time will be taken for that is 25 minutes. So that's in the previous video we had studied that when there is a completion of one high tide, it takes 12 hours and 25 minutes, and then again when there is low tide, again it is 12 hours and 25 minutes. So accordingly the time goes on extending. Now why it is extending? Because the moon is moving little bit ahead. Okay, so thus what will happen, hence it will take 25 minutes more for the point F to come to the position opposite to the moon. So when this point F will come to the position of the P, then by the time the moon will have moved here. So now here you can see this is a second blue color line. So till the point F will come here, the moon has moved ahead. So again for this point F to move to that moon's place, it will take 25 minutes more, and that is why the high tide which was started at point P, by the time the F reached here, again it will be extended by 25 minutes. Okay, so it will be 25 minutes more. After 12 hours 25 minutes, F will arrive opposite to the moon and it will experience high tide. So after 12 hours 25 minutes, the F will move ahead and thus it will experience high tide. Point P opposite to point F will also experience high tide. Now point P is here and point F is here. So again point P is going to experience high tide and point F is going to experience high tide here. Okay. Later again after 12 hours and 25 minutes, point P will experience high tide as it comes in front of the P1 will experience high tide as it comes in front of the moon. There will be high tide at point F12 as shown in the figure 3.9. So as shown in figure 3.9, when point P1 will have high tide, F1 will also have high tide. So accordingly the position goes on changing, and as the moon goes on changing its position from here to the moon also completes the revolution. So accordingly the changes occurs in the time of the high tide and the low tide. I hope you have understood this. There is high tide and low tide twice a day, 24 hours generally. So there's generally we have 24 hours in a day. So there is a high tide and a low tide twice a day. 12 hours high tide, 12 hours low tide. Okay. The time difference between two high tides is of 12 hours and 25 minutes. Okay. So the time difference between both the high tides is 12 hours and 25 minutes. So I hope you have understood this. Now they had given here one try this. This is an activity which is been given. I will perform this activity and along with that I will read so that you will be able to understand what I am doing. Just pay attention here. They had said what they have told. Take a wide open large dish. So there is a dish here, you can see I had taken a dish. Keep the dish on the table or a flat surface. Okay, so I had kept it on a flat surface. Fill water in the dish up to the rim. Now here I am pouring the water here in this dish. You can see I am pouring the water and this is filled up to the rim. Actually they said it has to be filled up to the rim, but then I have not completely filled it. Now what we have to do? Fill water in the dish up to the rim. We have to generate waves in the dish. Now see the water here, it's steady, it is not moving. Now I have to generate the waves in this dish. So what I will have to do? Is it possible to generate waves without touching or shoving the dish? So is it possible that without touching I can generate the waves? No, what I need to do, see, when I am moving, when I am shaking, when I am moving this dish, then there are waves which are generated, or the other option is blowing the water. Okay, so let's see, I will blow the water and you can see. Can you all see? Okay, so here what I did, I was blowing the water. So this is the one way where either you have to move, you have to shift, or you have to move the dish, then you can see the water moving, or you have to blow it. Try doing so. In what different way can you generate waves in the dish? So here they had asked that how you can create the waves in the dish. Let's see the explanation of this particular geographical explanation. Okay, so let's see what is the geographical explanation given here. If you blow air over hot milk or tea, now when you're drinking a milk or a tea and if it is hot, what happen? You have to blow it, right? While drinking, ripples are generated on the milk or the tea. So when it is hot and if you are blowing it, there are ripples, like you had just now seen in the water. When I was moving that dish, there were that kind of waves, like waves it was moving, ripples had formed. Okay, in the same way, because of the force of the wind, water appears to be moving. So in similar manner, when the water is in the sea, what happens? How it moves? Because of the force of the wind. The wind which is blowing on the earth's surface makes the water move front and back in the sea. The sea water gets pushed by the wind and the ripples are generated on the water surface. These are called waves. So thus, as I said, what happened? The water there get pushed because of the wind. The ripples are generated on the water surface and these are called waves. Okay, the sea water moves up and down or slightly forward and backward due to the waves. So the sea water, what happens? It moves up and down, or it is slightly forward and backward due to the waves. The waves bring the energy content in them to the coast. So what happened? When these waves are generated, this water, they get energy, they get force, and they come to the coast, that is near the seashore. They break in the shallow water near the coast. Large or small waves are formed continuously at the surface of the sea. So as there is lots of wind blowing, large or small waves are continuously formed at the surface of the sea. Generation of waves is a natural and regular occurring phenomena. Now once again they had given here the generation of the waves is regular and natural and regularly occurring phenomena. See figure 3.10. They had given here this figure. You can see waves coming to the coast. You can see these are the waves, and if you had ever visited the seashore, you must have experienced this type of waves which are coming to the seashore on the sea. Okay, so we will stop our explanation here. The next part of this lesson we will continue in our next video. I hope you have understood whatever we have studied today, that is about the change in the time of the high tide and the low tide and how the waves are generated. Okay, so bye children, thank you.